The holographic display cast a soft blue glow across Dr. Sarah Chen's face as she studied the readings for the 100th time. The Renaissance, humanity's first deep space research vessel, had been tracking unusual energy signatures for the past 3 weeks. Now, drifting at the edge of unexplored space, they'd finally found their source. Dr. Chen, Captain Rodriguez's voice crackled through the lab's comm system. "We need you on the bridge. Now." Sarah's heart raced as she made her way through the ship's pristine corridors. After 15 years of searching for intelligent life, they might have finally found it. The bridge doors slid open with a soft hiss, revealing a sight that took her breath away. Through the massive viewport, a city floated in space. Crystalline structures caught starlight and scattered it in prismatic arrays, creating a dance of colors that defied description. Organic-looking vessels moved between the structures like jellyfish swimming through deep ocean currents. "It's beautiful," Sarah whispered. "And inhabited," Rodriguez said, gesturing to a smaller screen. "We're picking up transmissions. Your linguistics program is already working on them." Sarah moved to her station, fingers flying across the holographic interface. The alien language was unlike anything they'd encountered before, not just sound, but patterns of light and electromagnetic pulses. Yet somehow, her program was finding patterns, creating connections. "They're calling themselves the Lyserians," she announced after several minutes. "And they've detected us." The bridge crew held their breath as a transmission cut through their communications system. A face appeared on the main screen, humanoid but distinctly alien. Iridescent scales covered violet skin, and massive eyes with star-like pupils blinked at them. "Greetings, distant travelers," the alien spoke, Sarah's program providing real-time translation. "I am first speaker Zarya of the Lyserian Confluence. Your presence has caused quite a stir among our people." Sarah stepped forward, her scientific training warring with awe. "I'm Dr. Sarah Chen of the Earth vessel Renaissance. We come seeking peaceful contact and scientific exchange." Zarya's head tilted, those stellar eyes focusing intently on Sarah. "Your species. You're different. I can't sense your emotional resonance at all. How fascinating." That's when Sarah noticed it, a subtle shimmer in the air around Zarya, like heat waves rising from hot pavement. Her instruments went crazy, detecting complex patterns of biochemical markers and electromagnetic fields. "We'd be honored to learn more about your people," Sarah said, her scientist's curiosity burning. "With your permission, I'd like to begin preliminary cultural exchange protocols." Zarya's scales shifted color slightly, creating patterns that Sarah's instruments frantically tried to decode. "Yes, I believe that would be illuminating. Perhaps you would consent to visit our research facility. We have containment chambers that can be adjusted to your environmental needs." Captain Rodriguez stepped forward. "Dr. Chen would need to follow strict quarantine protocols, but if you're willing to accommodate our safety measures, I'll authorize the visit." The next few hours passed in a blur of preparation. Sarah underwent decontamination, suited up in an environmental suit modified with every sensor she could cram into it, and boarded a shuttle to the Lyserian research facility. The alien architecture was even more stunning up close. Structures seemed to grow, rather than being built, organic curves flowing into impossible geometries. Zarya met her in a chamber that looked more like an art installation than a lab, walls pulsing with bioluminescent patterns. "Your suit," Zarya said, those star-filled eyes studying Sarah intently. "It blocks so much. How do you share emotions with your kind through such barriers?" Sarah smiled behind her faceplate. "We have other ways of communicating. Words, expressions, touch when appropriate. We don't have your ability to project emotions directly." "No resonance at all," Zarya marveled, moving closer. "Yet I sense such complexity in you. Such depth. Would you commit me to attempt closer contact? Our containment field will prevent any biological exchange." Sarah checked her instruments, confirmed the integrity of the quarantine barriers, and nodded. "In the interest of science, of course." Zarya pressed a scaled hand against the energy field separating them. Sarah did the same, and suddenly her world exploded with sensation. Colors she had no names for flooded her vision. Emotions that weren't her own cascaded through her mind. Curiosity, excitement, wonder, and something else, something that made her catch her breath. Extraordinary, Zarya whispered. Your species, you feel so much, contain so much, yet keep it all inside. How do you not burst from it? Sarah laughed, a sound that made Zarya's scales ripple with new patterns. Sometimes we do. That's what art and music and dance are for. Ways to let what's inside out. Show me, Zarya said evilly. Show me how humans express what they feel. And so began the strangest and most important cultural exchange in human history. Sarah didn't know it yet, but this moment, this connection between human and Lyserian, would change both their species forever. The real question was, were either of them truly ready for what that change would bring? In the depths of space, watched by distant stars, two beings from vastly different worlds began to bridge the gap between their species. It wasn't just about science anymore. It was about understanding, connection, and the fundamental truth that life, no matter its form, yearned to reach out and touch something beyond itself. The first step had been taken. There would be no turning back. Breaking barriers. 3 weeks into the cultural exchange program, Sarah found herself spending more time in the Lyserian research facility than on her own ship. The environmental suit had been replaced by a much lighter protective field after extensive compatibility testing, allowing her to move more freely through the crystalline chambers of the alien station. Your species consumes organic matter for sustenance, Zarya observed one day, watching Sarah eat a protein bar through the containment field. Yet you derive pleasure from it as well. How curious. Sarah swallowed her bite, noting how Zarya's scales shifted to a pattern she'd come to associate with intense interest. Food is a huge part of human culture. We don't just eat to survive. We cook to show love, share meals to build community, create new dishes to express creativity. Zarya moved closer, those star-filled eyes reflecting the station's bioluminescent light. We Lyserians absorb energy directly from our sun and chemical nutrients from our atmosphere. The concept of tasting is alien to us. Yet we sense emotions through chemical receptors that you might consider similar to taste. Really? Sarah leaned forward, her scientist's mind racing. So when you detect emotional resonance, we experience it as what you might call flavor, Zarya finished. Your joy tastes like, I have no words in your language. The closest might be the way your solar radiation feels on my scales. Your curiosity has a sharp, bright sensation that makes my receptors tingle. Sarah's heart raced. That's fascinating. The implications for cross-species communication. She paused, noticing a new pattern rippling across Zarya's scales. What is it? Your excitement. It's intoxicating, Zarya admitted. I've never experienced such intense emotional resonance from any species before. Humans feel everything so strongly, yet contain it all. It's like discovering a new spectrum of light. The air between them seemed to thicken with unspoken possibilities. Sarah found herself studying Zarya's alien features, the graceful sweep of scaled ridges, the subtle shifts of color that revealed inner thoughts, those mesmerizing stellar eyes. A dangerous thought crossed her mind. Zarya, she said carefully, would you like to try an experiment? The Lyserian scales flickered with interest. What kind of experiment? You experience emotions as taste. We humans often express emotions through. Sarah felt her cheeks flush. Through physical contact, specifically through kissing. Zarya's scales rippled with new patterns Sarah had never seen before. Kissing. Ah yes, the pressing together of mouthparts. I've observed this in your cultural database, but never understood its significance. It's more than just pressing mouths together, Sarah explained, her heart hammering. It's about sharing sensation, showing affection, expressing desire that words can't capture. And you would share this with me? Zaria's voice held a new tone, one that made Sarah's skin tingle. The containment field is permeable to certain molecular exchanges now, Sarah said. We've confirmed biological compatibility. If you're willing. Zaria moved closer to the field separating them. Show me. Sarah stepped forward, her breath fogging the barely visible barrier between them. Slowly, carefully, she pressed her lips against the field. On the other side, Zaria extended a sensory appendage that humans had dubbed a taste ribbon, a delicate, translucent structure that emerged from beneath their scales. The moment they made contact through the field, both gasped. Sarah felt a cascade of sensations she had no words for. Colors became flavors, emotions turned to music in her mind. Zaria's scales blazed with patterns of light that made the chamber's bioluminescence pale in comparison. Human, Zaria breathed, stellar eyes wide with wonder. What are you doing with your mouth? The resonance. I've never. Don't stop. The kiss deepened, and Sarah felt herself falling into an ocean of alien sensation. Through the field, she could taste Zaria's emotions, wonder, desire, joy, and something deeper, something that made her own emotions surge in response. Their essences mingled, human biochemistry dancing with alien resonance in ways neither species had dreamed possible. When they finally parted, both were trembling. Zaria's scales had settled into a deep, pulsing pattern that Sarah somehow knew meant profound contentment. Now I understand, Zaria said softly. Your species keeps so much inside because when you let it out, it's overwhelming, beautiful, dangerous. Dangerous? Sarah asked, still catching her breath. Such intensity of feeling, it changes things, changes us. Zaria's scales shifted to a more serious pattern. There are those among my people who fear change, who believe we should remain pure, unchanged by contact with other species. Sarah felt a chill. We have similar people among humans. They're called xenophobes. The Council of Elders has expressed concerns about our research, Zaria admitted. They fear what too much contact with humans might do to our society. And now? The Lazarian scales rippled with worry. Now I understand their fear. What we just shared, it's revolutionary. Dangerous. All the best things are, Sarah said, reaching out to press her hand against the field. Zaria, what we've discovered here, it could change everything. Help both our species understand each other in ways we never imagined. Yes, Zaria agreed, matching the gesture. But change brings resistance. We must be careful, Sarah. There are forces at work that would stop this if they knew. As if summoned by Zaria's words, an alert chimed through the chamber. New energy signatures were appearing around the station, Lassyrian ships, but not the usual research vessels. These were larger, military. The Elder Council, Zaria's scales paled. They're here for an inspection. Sarah, you must return to your ship. Quickly. As Sarah hurried to her shuttle, her mind raced with implications. They'd crossed a line today, discovered something beautiful and terrifying. But if they weren't careful, forces on both sides might ensure that discovery would be lost forever. Hidden threats. The emergency alert jolted Sarah awake at 300 ship time. Zaria's voice came through her private channel, tight with tension. Sarah, I need you. Now, something's wrong. Minutes later, Sarah was racing through the Lassyrian research station's crystalline corridors, her protective field humming. She found Zaria in the main laboratory, surrounded by holographic displays showing complex molecular structures. The Lassyrian scales had taken on a sickly, muted tone Sarah had never seen before. Look at this, Zaria said without preamble, gesturing to a particular display. These samples are from our youngest generation. See the pattern. Sarah studied the molecular structures, her xenobiologist training kicking in. These are genetic markers, but they're degrading. How is that possible? It's happening everywhere, Zaria's voice cracked. We've detected it in every Lassyrian colony, every age group. But the young ones are showing symptoms first. Their emotional resonance is failing. Sarah's blood ran cold. For a species that communicated and connected through emotional resonance, losing that ability would be devastating. How long? At the current rate of degradation, Zuria's scales rippled with despair. 3 generations, maybe 4, then we lose it completely. We become empty. Just bodies without the spark that makes us Lycerian. There has to be something we can do, Sarah insisted, her mind racing. Have you identified the cause? Zaria manipulated the displays, bringing up new data. It's a pathogen, we think. Something that's been dormant in our genetic code for millennia. Our scientists believe it was engineered by an ancient enemy designed to activate slowly, to destroy us from within. Sarah moved closer to the displays, her heart pounding. Something about the molecular structure looked familiar. Zaria, can you show me the resonance patterns we recorded during our experiment? The Lycerian scales flushed with color at the memory but complied. The 2 data sets floated side by side, and Sarah gasped. There, look at the way human biochemistry interacts with your resonance field. The patterns are almost exactly inverse to the pathogen's degradation effect. What are you saying? Zuria's stellar eyes widened. I'm saying, Sarah's voice shook with excitement, that human biology might hold the key to stopping this. Our emotional expressions, our biochemistry, it's like an antidote to whatever this pathogen was designed to do. Zuria's scales blazed with hope, then quickly dimmed. The Elder Council would never approve. They've already forbidden further intimate contact experiments. They'd rather see our species fade away than risk changing through contact with humans. Then we don't tell them, Sarah said firmly. Zaria, we can't let politics and prejudice condemn your entire species to a slow death. We'll find a way to help, whatever it takes. The next weeks became a blur of secret research and close calls. Sarah worked officially on standard cultural exchange protocols, while secretly helping Zaria develop a treatment based on human biochemistry. They discovered that the same mechanisms that allowed humans to express emotions so intensely could be used to stabilize Lycerian emotional resonance. But they needed more than just theory. They needed to test it. It has to be me, Sarah said one night, after another failed simulation. My biochemistry is compatible with your resonance field. We've proven that. If we can use my emotional patterns as a template. No, Zuria's scales flashed with alarm. The process would be dangerous. Linking our biochemistries at that level, it's never been done. You could die. Your people will die if we do nothing, Sarah countered. She stepped close to the containment field, pressing her hand against it. Zaria, since I met you, I've experienced things I never dreamed possible. You've shown me that connection goes deeper than physical form. Let me help save your people. Zuria's scales rippled with complex emotions. Why? Why risk everything for us? Because that's what humans do, Sarah smiled. We see something worth fighting for, and we fight. We see someone She hesitated, then pushed on, someone we love in pain, and we do whatever it takes to help. The word love sent cascading patterns across Zuria's scales. The Lycerian moved closer, pressing against the other side of the field. You've changed me, Sarah Chen. Changed how I see everything. If we do this... When we do this, Sarah corrected. When we do this, Zaria agreed, nothing will ever be the same. Good, Sarah said firmly. The old way was killing you. Sometimes change is the only path to survival. They worked through the night, preparing the procedure. They would have one chance before someone noticed the power drain from the equipment they'd modified. One chance to either save the Lycerian species or destroy everything they built. As Sarah lay in the modified containment chamber, watching Zaria make final adjustments, she felt strangely calm. The risk was enormous, but so was the potential reward. This was what humanity did best, taking impossible leaps of faith in the name of progress, of connection, of love. Ready? Zaria asked, scales showing both fear and determination. Sarah took a deep breath. Ready. Let's make history. The chamber hummed to life, and Sarah felt the first tingles of energy dancing across her skin. As the procedure began, she caught Zaria's stellar gaze and held it, pouring every ounce of emotion she could into the connection. Whatever happened next would change both their species forever, but that was tomorrow's problem. Right now, in this moment, two beings from vastly different worlds were proving that love could transcend biology itself. The future was about to change. All they had to do was survive it. The cure. The world dissolved into light and sensation as the procedure began. Sarah felt her consciousness expanding, merging with something vast and alien. Zaria's emotional resonance field enveloped her, and suddenly she wasn't just sensing the Lucerian's feelings, she was experiencing them as if they were her own. Fear, hope, determination, love. The emotions swirled together like colors in a cosmic storm. Through their connection, Sarah could feel the pathogen's corruption, a cold void spreading through the beautiful tapestry of Lucerian consciousness. But she could also feel something else, her own humanity, burning bright and fierce against the darkness. Neural patterns stabilizing, Zaria's voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. Sarah, your emotional output is incredible. The resonance matrices are absorbing it faster than we predicted. Sarah couldn't respond with words. Her entire being was focused on projecting everything she felt, her wonder at the universe, her passion for discovery, her deep connection with Zaria. Human emotions, usually contained within flesh and bone, poured out into the Lucerian resonance field like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. Warning alarms blared. Power fluctuation in containment grid, Zaria reported, scales flickering with anxiety. Sarah, your biochemistry is overloading the stabilizers. We need tow. No. Sarah managed to gasp. Almost. There, she could feel it working. Where her emotional resonance touched the void left by the pathogen, life bloomed anew. The cold emptiness retreated before the warmth of human feeling. But the power drain was massive, and Sarah's consciousness began to fragment under the strain. Memories flashed through her mind, her first view of the stars through a telescope, graduating from the academy, seeing the Lucerian city for the first time, that first kiss through the containment field. Each memory carried its own emotional weight, and Sarah poured them all into the connection. Multiple system failures. Zaria's voice was desperate now. Sarah, your vital signs are critical. We have to stop. Just a little more. The world exploded into white light. Sarah felt something fundamental shift in the resonance field, like a key turning in a lock. Then darkness claimed her. She awoke to the soft hum of medical equipment and the familiar sensation of a containment field. Zaria's face swam into focus above her, those stellar eyes filled with worry and something else. Triumph. How? Sarah's throat was dry. How long was I out? 3 days, Zaria's scales rippled with relief. You almost died, you brilliant, reckless human. Did it work? In answer, Zaria deactivated the containment field completely. Sarah started to protest, but then she felt it, a subtle resonance in the air around them, carrying emotions that weren't her own. Joy, gratitude, love. The pathogen is retreating, Zaria explained, taking Sarah's hand in scaled fingers. Your emotional patterns create a template that our resonance fields could adapt to. It's like you taught our bodies how to feel again, how to express emotion in new ways. The degradation has stopped, and in the younger generations, it's actually reversing. Sarah squeezed Zaria's hand, marveling at the direct contact. The council knows everything, a new voice said. First Elder Engzara stood in the doorway, their scales shifting in complex patterns. We detected the power surge and investigated. What we found, the Elder's scales rippled with reluctant admiration. You've changed everything, Dr. Chen. For the better, I hope, Sarah said, trying to sit up. Zaria helped support her. That remains to be seen, Engzara said. But what is undeniable is that you've saved our species from a fate worse than death. The Council has reconsidered its position on human contact. Sarah felt Zaria's surge of joy through their touching hands. The sensation was dizzying, intimate, in a way she'd never experienced before. What happens now? Now, the first elder's scales showed resignation tinged with curiosity. We begin the real work. Your procedure didn't just stop the pathogen. It fundamentally altered how our resonance fields function. We're evolving, Dr. Chen, because of you. Our younger generations are already showing signs of being able to process and express emotions more humanly. Is that such a bad thing? Sarah asked. Change is never easy, Sarah admitted, but extinction is harder. The Council has approved a full cultural exchange program. We want to understand these new capabilities, this new way of being, and their scales shifted to a formal pattern. We want you to lead the project, Dr. Chen, both of you. Zoria's scales blazed with joy, and Sarah felt the emotion wash over her through their linked hands. The sensation was still new, overwhelming, but wonderful. This was more than just saving a species. It was the birth of something entirely new. A way of being that was neither purely human nor purely Lycerian, but something gloriously in between. There will be resistance, Sarah warned. Many of our people fear change, and what you've started, it's perhaps the biggest change in our history. Worth it, Sarah said firmly, looking at Zaria. Some things are worth any risk. Zaria's scales rippled with love, and this time, Sarah didn't just see it, she felt it, tasted it, experienced it with every sense she possessed. This was the future they'd fought for, a future where barriers between species could fade away, where connection could transcend biology itself. Rest now, the first elder said, turning to leave. You'll both have much work to do soon. When they were alone, Zaria leaned down to press their foreheads together, a gesture that sent cascades of sensation through their newly strengthened bond. I love you, the Lycerian whispered in both words and resonance. Thank you for saving us, for saving me. Sarah smiled, letting her emotions flow freely through their connection. I love you too. Now, about that cultural exchange program, I have some ideas. The stars watched through the station's crystalline walls as human and Lycerian held each other, their bond a beacon of hope for both their species. The future was uncertain, but they would face it together, proving that love truly could change the universe itself. Political storm. The news spread through both civilizations like wildfire. On Earth, headlines screamed about humanity's role in saving an alien species. In Lycerian space, the resonance networks hummed with unprecedented emotional patterns as their people began experiencing feelings in new, more intense ways. Sarah stood before the combined Earth-Lycerian Scientific Council, Zaria by her side. Through their strengthened bond, she could feel her partner's nervous energy mixing with her own. The implications are staggering, Sarah explained, gesturing to the holographic displays showing the changes in Lycerian biology. It's not just that we stopped the pathogen. The integration of human emotional expression patterns has fundamentally altered how Lycerian resonance fields function. They're becoming more stable, more intense, more human. Abomination. The shout came from the Lycerian side. Elder Vexthor's scales blazed with patterns of fury. You've corrupted our pure biological heritage. Our young can no longer maintain proper emotional discipline. They're becoming volatile, unpredictable. They're becoming stronger, Zaria countered, her scales showing determination. For millennia, we prided ourselves on emotional control, on maintaining perfect resonance harmony. But that same rigid control made us vulnerable to the pathogen. Human emotional expression, raw, powerful, uncontained, saved us precisely because it was different. From the human side, Admiral Chen, no relation to Sarah, leaned forward. The security implications cannot be ignored. If Lycerians are developing stronger emotional capabilities, possibly even limited empathic bonds with humans, What's to prevent this from being weaponized? Sarah felt Zaria's flash of hurt through their bond and squeezed her partner's hand. With respect, Admiral, you're missing the point. This isn't about weapons or security. It's about evolution. Natural, voluntary evolution sparked by contact between our species. It's beautiful. Beautiful. Vexthor's scales rippled with disgust. Look at them. Standing there, touching, sharing resonance like two beings in love. Sarah challenged. The chamber fell silent. Yes, Zaria and I share a bond. Yes, I can feel her emotions now, and she can feel mine. And you know what? That's exactly why this is working. Because love, real, honest, uncontrolled love, is the most powerful force in the universe. Through their bond, Zaria sent a wave of pride and affection. Sarah continued, her voice strong. The younger generation isn't becoming corrupted. They're becoming more complete. They're learning to feel deeply while maintaining their unique Lycerian identity. They're proving that our species can complement each other, make each other better. A young Lycerian scientist stood up. Sarah recognized her as one of their first test subjects. She's right. Watch. The scientist's scales began to shift, not in the traditional subtle patterns, but in waves of bright color that pulsed with raw emotion. The other Lycerians gasped as her resonance field expanded, carrying feelings of joy, hope, and determination that even the humans in the room could sense. This is who we are now, the young scientist declared. We haven't lost our Lycerian nature, we've expanded it. We can feel more, express more, connect more deeply than ever before. Why should we fear that? One by one, other young Lycerians stood, their scales blazing with new patterns, their resonance fields harmonizing in ways that created visible auroras in the chamber. The effect was stunning, a display of emotion and unity that transcended species barriers. Admiral Chen sat back, looking thoughtful. Even Elder Vexthor's scales showed confusion mixed with reluctant wonder. The change is already happening, Sarah said softly. The only question is whether we'll fight it or embrace it. Zaria and I have proven that humans and Lycerians can connect in ways neither species imagined possible. Instead of fearing that connection, why not explore its potential? What exactly are you proposing? First Elder Engsara asked. Zaria stepped forward. A new academy. A place where humans and Lycerians can study together, learn from each other, explore the full potential of our newfound compatibility. Not just scientists, but artists, musicians, philosophers, anyone who wants to understand what happens when two species truly open themselves to each other. The Renaissance Academy, Sarah added, named after our ship and the cultural flowering we hope to inspire. The chamber erupted in discussion. Through their bond, Sarah and Zaria shared feelings of hope tinged with uncertainty. They'd started something unprecedented, something that would reshape both their civilizations. The road ahead would be challenging, but they'd face it together. Hours later, in their private quarters, Sarah and Zaria watched the stars through the station's crystalline walls. Their bond hummed with shared contentment. They approved it, Zaria said wonderingly. The academy, the continued research, everything. They didn't have much choice, Sarah chuckled. The younger generation made quite a statement today. Thanks to you. Zaria's scales rippled with love. You taught us it was okay to feel deeply, to express ourselves without shame. You changed everything. Sarah turned to face her partner, reaching up to trace the patterns flowing across Zaria's scales. We changed everything. Together. Through their bond, she sent all the love and certainty she felt, watching Zaria's scales light up in response. What happens now? Zaria asked. Sarah smiled. Now we build something new. Something neither of our species has seen before. Are you ready? Zaria's answer came in both words and resonance, a symphony of emotion that made Sarah's heart soar. With you, I'm ready for anything. Outside their window, the first transport ships were already arriving, carrying humans and Lycerians eager to be part of the Renaissance Academy's inaugural class. A new chapter was beginning, not just for Sarah and Zarya, but for both their species. The universe, it seemed, had bigger plans than anyone had imagined. New horizons. 1 year after the historic council meeting, the Renaissance Academy stood as a testament to what was possible when two species dared to dream together. The structure itself was a marvel of hybrid architecture, human engineering merged with Lyzerian crystal growth techniques to create something entirely new. Sarah stood at the podium in the grand amphitheater, looking out at the gathered faces, human and Lyzerian, young and old, skeptics and believers. Through her bond with Zarya, who stood beside her, she could feel the cosmic weight of this moment. "Welcome to the first day of our shared future," Sarah began. "Look around you. What you see here has never existed before in the history of either of our species. This isn't just for school. It's proof that difference doesn't have to mean distance, that change doesn't have to mean loss." The amphitheater's crystalline walls pulsed with light as the gathered Lyzerians' emotional resonance filled the space. The human students gasped in wonder as patterns of color danced through the air, fear, excitement, hope, and determination all made visible. 1 year ago, Zarya continued, her scales shimmering with pride, we faced extinction. Our emotional resonance was failing, our very identity as a species was dissolving. We thought the only way to survive was to resist change, to cling to tradition. We were wrong. Sarah felt a surge of love through their bond and smiled. Instead, we discovered that salvation often comes in unexpected forms. Human emotional expression, raw, powerful, uncontained, didn't weaken Lyzerian identity. It transformed it, enriched it, gave it new depth and resilience. And in return, Zarya added, humans have begun to experience emotion in ways they never thought possible. The first human Lyzerian bondings have shown us that consciousness itself is more flexible, more beautiful than either species imagined. As if on cue, several human students in the audience reached out to take their Lyzerian classmates' hands. The air filled with visible ripples of emotional resonance as humans who had undergone the modified bonding procedure demonstrated their newfound ability to share feelings directly. "This is just the beginning," Sarah continued. "Every day, we're discovering new possibilities. Artists working in emotional resonance, creating symphonies of feeling that can be experienced by both species. Scientists exploring the boundaries between mind and matter. Philosophers questioning everything we thought we knew about consciousness and connection. There are still those who fear what we're becoming," Zarya acknowledged, her scales showing patterns of determination. "Who say we're losing our pure heritage, that this mixing of species will lead to chaos. To them we say, look at what we've already achieved." Sarah gestured to the academy around them. This institution was built by human and Lyzerian hands working together. Its very walls are alive with the combined genius of both our species. And the students gathered here today will go on to create things we can't even imagine. Through their bond, Sarah and Zarya joined their emotions, creating a resonance pattern so powerful it filled the entire amphitheater. Students gasped as they felt it, pure love, hope, and determination, human and Lyzerian consciousness merged in perfect harmony. "This is who we are now," they said together, their voices and resonance synchronized. Not human, not Lyzerian, but something new, something more. The audience erupted in applause and emotional projections, creating a storm of light and feeling that made the crystal walls sing. Sarah looked out at the faces of the future, humans learning to open themselves to deeper connection, Lyzerians discovering the power of unrestrained emotion, and the beautiful hybrids of consciousness that were emerging between them. Later, in their private quarters at the top of the academy's highest spire, Sarah and Zarya watched the twin suns set over their new world. Their bond hummed with contentment and shared purpose. "Do you ever regret it?" Zarya asked softly. "Taking that first risk? Changing everything?" Sarah turned to her partner, reaching up to trace the now familiar patterns of love that flowed across Zarya's scales. "Never. Some changes are meant to be." The universe brought our species together for a reason. And what reason is that, Dr. Chen? Zaria's stellar eyes sparkled with amusement and love. To remind us that the greatest discoveries often come not from looking out at the stars, Sarah sent a wave of pure love through their bond, watching Zaria's scales light up in response, but from looking into each other's hearts. Zaria pulled her close, their resonance fields merging in a dance of emotion that would have been impossible a year ago. The students are already surpassing us, you know. The things they're discovering about consciousness, about connection. Good, Sarah smiled. That's exactly what we hoped for. They'll go further than we ever dreamed, create things we can't imagine. And it all started with a simple question. Human, what are you doing with your mouth? Zaria quoted, her scales rippling with amusement. And look where it led us. Sarah gestured to the academy below, where humans and Lazarians were already gathering for evening meditation sessions, their combined resonance fields creating auroras that rivaled the sunset. This was their legacy, not just saving a species, but opening both their peoples to new ways of being, of feeling, of connecting. The future stretched out before them, full of possibilities neither species could have imagined alone. As the last light faded from the sky, Sarah and Zaria stood together, their bond a beacon in the gathering dark. They had changed the universe, yes, but more importantly, they had proven that love truly could transcend any barrier, even the vast gulf between the stars. And that was just the beginning.